Okay, here with our Canucks panel. It's start of the season. We got to talk predictions a little bit. I'm going to throw this out, all these questions out to both of you. Jump in, argue, throw punches. I don't mind. Canucks best player this year. Who's it going to be?
Pettersson. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He was basically their best player last year, and he's a little taller, a little bigger. I think he's going to be their best player.
I'll, just for the sake of saying something different, I'm going to say Bo Horvat. If he keeps those same line mates in Miller and Pearson, and by the way, we knew a lot about Miller coming in. I didn't realize he was that good, that strong through the slot, that hard on the puck, that good with his playmaking. So if that line actually stays together, to take nothing away from Pettersson, it might be Horvat.
Top goal scorer, and how many do you think?
I'm going PD again. I think it's going to be 35 or 40 goals. Best will be close, but I'm going to Pettersson.
I'll say with his playmaking ability and that one-timer that we saw, I'm going to go Pettersson as well. And I'm going to go the upside of 35. I'll say 37.
Okay. Well, where do you think Besser's going to land? I know you'll think it'll be close, but
He's
what's
in
in store
similar
for him?
range. I mean, the Canucks dream of him being a 40-goal scorer. I think
35 for sure.
I think he's a 35 goal.
35, sure.
Quinn Hughes. In the last year, we saw the Canucks win a major award with Elias Pettersson. Is Quinn Hughes going to be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year?
I think he's a 40-point guy. I think he's legit. He's going to be on PP too, and I just think that he might get a lot of secondary assists just because of the way he gets to the neutral zone in a hurry and finds people. I think he's legitimate. I think the one thing I've noticed about him is when you ask him a question where you think there's some doubt in him, his confidence is ridiculous. I know a lot of that comes from the hockey lineage in the family. I think, again, he's a legit 40-point guy, and I think he'll be in the conversation.
I think, to me, the question getting to 40 points is how much does he play on PP2?
PP2.
How much does he play on PP1? He's starting the year on the second unit, which they hope will produce, but they still won't get quite as much time as the first unit, not playing with Pettersson, not playing with Besser. I think you hope that 40 is probably the high end for me. I think he's more in the sort of the 30-point range. But
He'll be PP1 eventually.
He'll be but yeah, no, could he
He'll
be in
be
the caller
PP.
conversation if he progresses over the course of the season? I mean, I think he certainly has a chance to be there.
Well, you have
I don't know if he's going to win, but he certainly has a chance.
if Brock Besser doesn't get hurt 2 years ago,
Right.
that's probably a lot of a closer race.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at
Yeah.
between Pettersson, Besser, and if you had Hughes even in the conversation, I mean, now you're talking about cornerstone pieces, right? If they're
Yep.
you
And,
think-
and there's another Hughes in that conversation. I think he plays in New Jersey. Some
Yeah.
kid named Jack. He'll be in it. So
and that'd be great if they were both finalists.
it could be a brotherly thing. You never know.
All right, now we get a little bit more difficult, a little bit more esoteric. Jake Virtanen. This time next year, is he on the Vancouver Canucks?
No. I'm going there. I'm going to say no. I think they've sort of done everything. They've done everything they can. They've seen everything they thought they'd see. We saw 15 goals last year. I think partly if he'd had not played 20-some games with Brandon Sutter, he might have had 20 goals. He's starting the season with Brandon Sutter. There's no real passer playmaker on that line right now, so I don't know how many goals he's going to get to start with. And if he's not scoring goals, he does lots of things well, but that's not why the Canucks have him. And if he's not scoring goals, they're not going to stay with him.
The interesting thing there, you mentioned the 15 goals, and of course he's in a contract year, has arbitration rights. Normally it's like, well, what if Jake gets to 20 goals? The arbitrator's going to love that. Two things. The Canucks have a history of guys in their contract years to play him in the bottom six. Marcus Granlund after 19 goals with the Twins. And secondly, I don't know if Jake can get to 20 goals. There's just something, he's the fastest skater on the team. When the spirit moves him, he hits you like a truck. But the way he processes the game, the lapses in his shifts, his decisions with the puck, it's still amazing to this point that's still a question on top of his fitness. And like I said, I think he's a kind of guy that might be in and out of the lineup even this year. The fact that if you're going to move Gaudette in at some point, put Sutter on the wing on that third line, maybe Jake is one of those guys that Travis is going to have a carrot. Maybe he has to dangle a carrot in front of Jake. You're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. A year later, he may not be back.
Does he finish this season with this team?
Oh, I think he does, but unless they're totally out of it at the trade deadline, which I don't imagine. I think he finishes the year, but I do agree with Patrick. I think he's run his course here.
Okay, who is the Canucks GOAT this year? And I'm not talking about the Elias Pettersson GOAT. I'm talking about the Eric Goodbranson, the firebrand player for this team that the fans just can't seem to get out of town quick enough.
Well, looks like he's going to sit in the press box opening night.
Yeah.
It's Lou Eriksson. The $6 million man had a very quiet preseason. The coach still defends him and points out, well, he calls penalties and does all these things. But
It's the little things, right?
It says the little things. And the reality with Eriksson is that if he had a different name on his back and he was making a third of his salary, nobody would complain. But He got signed. He got signed to a big deal. He's only scored 30-some goals in his time with the Canucks. He just hasn't been good enough.
And Ericsson's only ticket into the lineup is Tim Schaller, who made a remarkable recovery from a guy who said he wasn't ready for training camp a year ago in Whistler. Can you imagine that? A guy who played in Buffalo, a guy who played in Boston, scored 12 goals, had 3 shorthanded goals. The Bruins had the number 3 PK. They bring him here to be a big part of the PK. He wasn't ready for training camp a year ago in Whistler. He admitted that to us in Victoria. I thought they were going to try to get rid of him in the summer. There was some appetite to maybe move him. I think if Schaller doesn't show something early, that's Ericsson's ticket back into the lineup, the fourth line, left side, kill penalties, sort of quasi-shutdown. So Ericsson's always going to be number 1. My number 2 guy is probably going to be Brandon Sutter because, again, last season, shoulder injury, hernia surgery. We know he's a Pilates king now. If he gets hurt again early, it's going to be, we're paying $4.3 million for a guy we can't move as a modified no trade, and there's no interest in him. So Eriksson number 1. Sutter number 2.
I thought one of you would bite on Tyler Myers, but I guess not.
No, he's big and strong. People like big and strong guys.
Yeah, but he doesn't play big and strong. That's the criticism. So I just
Okay, he's number 3. He's on the podium. There's your
for me,
podium.
I see
There's your
I
podium.
see a scenario halfway through
but
the year where the fans are just like, why did we pay $6 million for this guy?
Yeah, but I just don't think. I don't think it's going to be like that because that needs sort of egregious, terrible play, and I don't think there's going to be egregious, terrible play. I think there's going to be moments where he's not going to do well, but it's not. I don't think this is going to be a good Branson scenario. It took a long time for people to turn on Eric Branson.
Yeah, because it's with Myers.
Not as long as it took Eric Branson to turn on the ice.
It's going to be more about the way Myers defends. I mean, we talk about his ability to move the puck, and he's going to be on PP2. It's the fact that at a 6'8" wingspan, and I talked to him about this at training camp, is that his lateral movement, making that first move, pivoting for big guys, a real challenge. And the challenge for him in Winnipeg and the challenge for him here is going to be defending now, because Edler usually kind of gets hurt when he tries to play that role, and now you've got Myers has to play that role. It might not be what he does with the puck offensively with Myers. How is he going to defend? And I think that's going to be an
And I
issue.
think they're hoping that the answer is that by playing him with the Pettersson line, that they're just going to be the other end of the ice and they're not going to have to play defense, and that's what their hope is. So,
Do the Canucks make the playoffs?
no, division's too tough.
They'll play those quote-unquote meaningful games in late March and early April. I have them for 89 points. I think the bar is going to be 94. They'll be better than a year ago. There's no way that PP can be 21st. It's got to be in the top half of the league. They got to be better than the 26th ranked offense. I think they're better on paper as long as they stay healthy. I think they'll be in the mix. I see them falling just short.
Jim Benning, he's still how tenuous is his job? I don't want to say is he here next year. Jim Benning, Travis Green,
He's the
are
owner's
either
guy.
of them really on the hot seat?
I think
if they don't make
I
the
think
playoffs.
Benning is the owner's guy. This is a team the owner wants. Jim Benning's built the team the owner wants. I think the question is, if they miss the playoffs, I think then you're starting to wonder because it will have been 5 years since they made the playoffs. So I think that is a real question mark. Travis Green is also, he's coaching to make the playoffs. He knows that. He wants to win. And so, traditionally that's, Willie got 3 years and Willie was out. So, Travis, I think, is a better coach than Willie proved to be, but the results are the results. And I think it's a results-based business.
There's the rub. This is year 3 for Travis. The bloom is off the rose. He's got a better team.
Yes.
Now, is he a better coach? I think in year 3 there's some considerable pressure on Travis. Travis talked about, we're getting close, maybe we're a year or two away from the playoffs. He talked about that at the end of last year for a right reason. Maybe he wants to buy some more time. Jim Benning's always shared the ownership's vision that we're not that far away.
Yep.
So obviously the owner loves him. He's got him at a certain price point. I think there's more pressure on Travis Green, and I think we've even seen it in the preseason. He's been a little testy with us, and then I think he's feeling it.
Well, you get into that scenario where, as long as there's progress, you can make an argument to stay. If the team takes a step back, then I think we're looking at any possibility. So you heard it from these guys. No playoffs, but they will be better. Young players are going to be good, and Jim Benning's still going to be here next year. So that means we'll have lots of stuff to talk about. Thanks for watching, and we will bring you these videos throughout the season.